Hello, listeners. Welcome back to the Discover Virginia Beach podcast. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Jessica Chenard, the founder of Her Hike Collective and author of her debut memoir, Her Hike. Jessica is here to share her love for Virginia Beach, her love for hiking, and her journey throughout the Virginia Beach area. Jessica, welcome to the Discover Virginia Beach podcast.
Thank you for having me. And you pronounced my last name correctly. I'm impressed. Not many people do.
I had to learn from the former mistakes of other podcast hosts. So I appreciate them sticking their neck out there for us. Well, Jessica, I'll always start off each conversation. Would you mind sharing with us your relationship with the Virginia Beach area? What specifically brought you here, and what got you to stick around?
Well, I was born here, so that's what got me here.
Excellent.
Born and raised in Virginia Beach. I now technically live in Chesapeake, so I live a city over, but go to Virginia Beach as often as I can. Still a lot of friends there and family. So
Wonderful. Well, Jessica, I definitely would love to talk more about Virginia Beach, but of course, I understand you've already been on numerous media sources. So for our listeners listening, Jessica has been not only featured on the Quill magazine and podcasts like She Can Do It, So Can You, and Virginia Outdoor Adventures. Shout out to Jessica Bowser for that. And your message here has just been to to promote your memoir and to share your story with Her Hike about your personal journey through grief and hiking. Can we first start off the conversation by talking a little bit more about your memoir first?
Yeah, my memoir is called Her Hike, and it's based off of my hiking group that I have, which is called Her Hike Collective. And it was created in a time where I was grieving the loss of my brother. I was 21 when he took his own life after prescription drug addiction. And I was left with knowing he loved hiking and camping. And specifically, he would go to the Blue Ridge Mountains in Virginia. So I kind of took that and ran with it and started falling in love with hiking, not just, locally on our trails in Virginia Beach, but going to the mountains every chance that I could get on the weekends, the little day trips here and there, and really began to heal and learning about myself and how healing nature was for me. I wanted to invite as many women as I could along that journey as well, in case they were going through something, they wanted to be able to take that to the mountains with them and heal from their own stories.
Wow. What a very sad moment for you. Would you mind and I know you mentioned this in your memoir, but I like to kind of dig into some text here because this is a heavy moment, and of course, we have wonderful things to talk about Virginia Beach, but I think it's important to maybe take a pause here. I know during this journey you had mentioned you were, quote, felt like it was an avalanche of feelings and emotions that kind of had you trapped. Would you mind walking us through that text, and then also kind of expanding from, where you were at in that moment of your grief?
Yeah. Specifically, if you're talking about avalanche, I also like to ski, and my family grew up skiing together. My dad owns a ski shop in Virginia Beach, go figure. And we love skiing, love the snow. And we were able to go out to Big Sky, Montana and ski there as a group trip from his skiing store. And I was heavy with grief with my brother. I knew it was another place he loved, but I never got to experience it with him personally when he was alive. So going there felt like I was experiencing a new place. That was the closest I was ever going to get to him again, in this life. And I carried a lot of weight to that. Big Sky had a lot to live up to, and luckily it did for me. But
Gotcha. So did you go on the ski trips together, or it sounds like there was a big age gap, so you didn't necessarily get to go on those trips with him, right?
Right. We did on the East Coast trips growing up, to Wintergreen, Massanutten, places like that.
Sure.
But the Western trip, this particular one was always when college winter break went back to school. And so I was still in college and I never got to go with them when they would go. So it was always known when I graduated college, I would go with them because I wouldn't have, a semester to go back to.
Sure, sure. And your brother's name is Richard, correct?
Yes.
Do you have, and I know there's so many memories, but do you have one that really sticks out to you as being one of those defining moments as brother and sister that you had that you share to honor Richard's memory, a memory of any kind?
Yes. I have a memory. I have several, a lot of them, but um, the one that's popping in my head right now is with butterflies. I'm a photographer as well, so he knew that was important to me and that I like to photograph different things. And he told me to come out into our backyard one day, and there was a butterfly there. And he was like, "This would be great. You should photograph this." And then a couple of years later, when he did pass, that same like butterfly, same color scheme of the butterfly just kept showing up for me. Um, my dad and I used to have a 1966 Mustang that was teal. And one day we were driving it around. We needed to get out of the house. We were just going stir crazy and one of those just grief battling days. So we took the car out, drove down the back roads, and eventually parked it. And we're taking pictures of it because that's what we did. And this teal and black butterfly just landed on the hood of the teal Mustang and stayed with us for 20 minutes or so, which is just not normal for a butterfly. And we really believe that was Richard giving us a sign. So a memory of him while he was here then kept showing up for me after he passed.
So do you feel like he was still talking to you, even though he's not physically here on Earth, or he's reincarnated of some sort, or just a little message, a little whisper, maybe?
Yeah. Yeah, just a little whisper message, not reincarnated, but yeah, just saying like, "Hey, I'm here. I see you. So it's okay."
Wow. So you guys see this teal butterfly on this teal Mustang, and this faint whisper of your brother. I mean, I'm sure that brought back a lot of emotions for you. During your journey, because I know it was a couple years later when you started to kind of put together the pieces of your experience and become more open about it, through your memoir. Did you have have any distinct moments during those challenging parts of your experience that really stood out to you as like one of those aha moments for the memoir, or maybe something that stood out to you as, hey, like regardless of what happens, like it will be easier from here. There's maybe a shimmer of light at the end of this tunnel.
Yeah, I think as years go by, maybe one part of grief in the beginning isn't as hard as it used to be, or the sadness and all those moments, you are starting to able to think more and more about the good moments and remember those. In particular, as far as writing goes, I would battle if, should I do this? Should I share his story while simultaneously sharing mine of how I got through it? Because I always felt like I was, picking up the baton that he dropped and wanted me to pick it up and finish the race for us. But it was still
What do you mean by baton?
baton, like a baton relay race.
No, I understand that. I
Yeah.
mean, as far as the symbolic nature of the baton, what did you feel like he was leaving behind for you to carry on?
Our story in general,
Sure.
what happened to him. So I don't know if I shared it, but he had a prescription drug addiction, to Adderall in particular, and ended up taking his own life towards the end of that battle of addiction. And I just didn't want his life story to end there. I knew he deserved more, and just what happened to him was not him. And so in my eyes, I was picking up the baton of the relay race to carry on and finish out, whatever the story was going to end up being, whoever I shared it with, that they would get to know the Richard I knew.
Wonderful. I mean, one butterfly whisper at a time, right? Just carrying on from each moment to the next. And
Yeah.
what a very vulnerable spot to be in. I mean, especially considering, you were siblings, you were close. I mean, throughout the passage of time, I know you mentioned this before, much time has passed. Since then you've started a family, you've fallen in love, you've moved out to Chesapeake, and you've really begun to, kind of plant your own roots. Being since so much time has passed, since you began this journey, in some ways without your brother, Richard, have your feelings evolved or changed, as time has passed?
Yes, I've done a lot of growing and learning about myself. And which I think everyone should. You should always keep learning and growing and changing throughout your whole life. If you're not, then you're not learning, growing, and changing. So, and the grief has changed over the course of several years too. I've when I first had my first child, which was my son, a boy, that kind of added a different layer of grief I hadn't hit yet. And we were able to have his middle name, my brother's name, Richard. So that was a nice way to honor him. But just seeing, then seeing my parents with my son and just seeing a light come back to them was very emotional and one of the best parts of our lives. And I think they'll agree with that. And then also in writing this book and actually releasing it, as soon as I published it and it was, done complete, like obviously I still talk about it and I still want people to learn his story, and I still want more women to learn about hiking and what it can do for them. But the day it was published and out into the world was like a weight off my shoulders almost. Like I self-published, so it was
About to say it was like an uphill journey. I mean,
yeah.
self-publishing is no joke, and I didn't know you covered that on other episodes as well. But just the sheer fact of doing that yourself is no small feat.
Yeah.
And I applaud you for that. That's absolutely incredible.
So
Yeah.
in every stage, it was like, is this really going to happen? Is this really going to happen? And then finally, release date, I was like, it happened. Okay. And it just felt like a sense of completion. That, Richard wanted me to do this. I needed to do this. And whoever it helps one by one along the way is the best bonus that it can be.
This was the baton in your mind being passed, maybe to a marker that's more consistent with preservation as opposed to something that has to continue on, right? It now is set apart in a lot of ways, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that, Jessica. Thank you for opening up about that and being so vulnerable, and also going the extra step. I mean, a lot of people, they do struggle with grief, and they do struggle with loss, and a lot of times it's very personal and it stays that way, which is totally fine. But you actually took a different approach to passing on this baton. And I understand, your experience has led you to down a path of supporting those who have encountered grief through hiking. Can you share with us the inception of your all women's hiking group, Her Hike Collective, specifically how the initiative came about and how it connects women throughout the, I'll say, Virginia Beach area, knowing that includes Hampton Roads, 757, and all the wonderful hiking trails that exist here in the Virginia area?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I learned through my brother's friends after he passed that he loved hiking and camping. I found his camping gear, some of his hiking gear and stuff in storage. And I just kind of took that and ran with it. I wanted to go out hiking, see what it was all about. I met my then boyfriend, but now my husband, Corey, who enjoyed hiking too. So I was like, okay, let's go. Did my first couple of tent camping trips with him. And then I just kept wanting to get more and more of it. And he couldn't go every weekend. So I really started my hiking group as I want to go more often and I need people to go with. And it just evolved from there. From our first hike, women started sharing their stories with me and what led them to go out on a limb and go with women they never met before to hike, and why they were there, what types of things they were going through in their life that they just, wanted to put some action to whatever they were going through. I believe grief demands action, and what better way than hiking up a mountain or a windy trail in Virginia Beach with tree roots and First Landing State Park. You got to watch out for those. And like, you're heavy breathing, you're starting to sweat, it's just really, there's something about putting action into anything you're going through in life. And we all go through things. None of us are immune. So any women can like join the hiking group and have something that they need to hike through.
Sure. Yeah. And it's just the physical movement. I mean, just being active and present with your body and movement is definitely just something so, key to our existence as humans in general, right? I mean, if you're stressed, you go for a run. If you need to clear your mind, you go outside. And so with that, it sounds a little intimidating, not to, to be quite frank, this group of people that you might be expected to share your feelings or your deepest, darkest secrets. Would you mind dispelling that myth for us, Jessica? Would you mind sharing with us what a first-time guest might experience when they come alongside a hike with you, and your type of experience that people could expect with Her Hike Collective?
Yeah. Well, I'm personally always ready to dive deep into a deep conversation, but not everyone is. And so I kind of feel that out. And really our conversations happen organically, and they eventually, as the hike goes on or the day, we're spending from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. together on a day of a hike with the driving and things like that. If it's local, it's a shorter time, but I just think our conversations happen organically, but we also have fun too. I have women that are talking about different podcasts they're listening to, different like Netflix shows. A lot of the girls that go on our hikes they always bring up like murder mystery podcasts and all these different things. And I'm like, we are in the middle of the woods and you're talking about this.
Although it's the most popular podcast genre, we don't need to talk about it when it's late at night in the middle of the woods. Yes.
You're right.
Well, that's encouraging. And that's important to mention on the front end too, Jessica, that, people can open up about these things, that it is a safe space with someone like yourself who is ready, as you said, to go all in on these conversations. And what you're doing is incredible. And you're not only doing this, but one of the other things I wanted to ask you about, you've also partnered with Keep Virginia Cozy for a cleanup at First Landing State Park. At least that's what it showed up when I Googled it.
Yep.
Can you share with us a little bit more about your experience with this specific organization and why you decided to pursue this particular initiative?
Yeah, well, I go to First Landing State Park a lot, particularly like the 64th Street entrance. I like doing back in the Osprey Trail, and then the more popular one that goes right along the beach. And it can, especially during summertime, get pretty littered, I should say, with a lot of beach goers and people having fun and stuff. So we really wanted to go clean it up. I think it was a September, so right after the busy beach season.
Sure.
And
Yep.
we filled several bags of trash. And I reached out to Keep Virginia Cozy. They are out of Richmond, Virginia, but they do a lot of like Belle Isle cleanups in Richmond and different areas around there. And they've since branched out. I know they go to the Shenandoah National Park and things like that too. But I reached out to him and said, hey, can we host one down here? He was all about it. Really wanted us to do it, and was thankful that we had done one down here, because who's not going to say no to cleaning up a state park, right?
Especially First Landing State Park. Jessica, just enlighten me here. A lot of our viewers may be first-time visitors to the Virginia Beach area, or at least somewhat tourist and not too familiar with the location. Would you mind briefly giving us highlighting all of the best of First Landing State Park for those who might not know about it?
Yeah. Well, First Landing State Park is really big. There's an entrance of it on Shore Drive, and that's where some of the camping is. And I believe they have tent camping and cabin camping. And then the actual beach on the bay side is there. And then if you go down the north end on Atlantic Avenue, there's another entrance through 64th Street, and the locals call it the Narrows. Back there. That's where the boat ramp is. And I think during the summer, sometimes they have like kayak rentals and things like that. I've done that before. I've kayaked over there, hiked, done a beach day, and which is on the river. It's not on the actual like ocean beach. And yeah, there's a lot of trails.
Yeah, which is super nice too, because
Mhm.
when people think of Virginia Beach, they think of the ocean front. But there are actually 9 other. This is my claim to fame right here. There are 10 unique beach experiences. The ocean front is just one of them. First
Right.
Landing is its own private beach, as you mentioned. You can camp, you can park the RV, you can rent some cabin shelter spaces, and there's a whole lot of fun to do. And if you're still looking to check it out and not really sure, check out what Jessica's got going on, because you can definitely get plugged in with somebody, like you said, with hundreds of trails. It's best to have a guide if you want to have that type of, full day experience without
Mhm.
wondering where you are the whole time.
Yeah.
Um, well, Jessica, thank you so much for your time. I know you gotta get back to all things photography, writing, motherhood, and all the wonderful hats that you wear. That brings us into one of our last segments here, the rapid fire questions. These are rapid
Okay.
fire, so we're gonna ask them nice and fast.
All
Give us
right.
your best and summarized answer. You ready?
Yes, I think so.
First question is, do you prefer sunrise or sunset hikes?
Oh, okay. Well, I prefer the look of sunset hikes, but I don't want to be, if I'm hiking slow, I don't want to be stuck on the mountain in the dark. So I'm going to go sunrise hike.
Sunrise, because we don't want to be stuck in the dark, and sunset, you're probably exhausted from your day, right? Favorite trail in Virginia Beach to hike on, not First Landing. I'm gonna cut that
Oh,
one off because you've already mentioned it. What's your
okay.
other favorite hiking trail in Virginia Beach area?
Okay. Well, I think I'm going to cheat a little bit because it's through Pungo and I think it's right over into Chesapeake, but you could spend a whole
Excellent
day in Pungo,
area. We'll include
Yep.
Chesapeake. Yes.
Northwest River Park.
Oh, I love Northwest River Park. It's so much
Mhm.
fun. They have so much to do as well.
Yeah.
But this is rapid fire. We got to keep it moving. Your favorite drink of choice before a long hike?
Coffee and water.
Love it. Yes. Stay hydrated and have your coffee.
Yeah.
What shoe or boot are you currently hiking in when you go on a hike? Something that fits you well and you prefer?
Yes. Merrill's, the brand.
Merrell's.
Yeah.
The brand Merrell's. Okay. How's that spelled? For somebody who doesn't do much hiking.
Oh gosh.
We'll
And
include it in the show notes. No worries. I'll Google that.
okay.
If it's something you recommend, I definitely want to highlight it as being a great source to check out. Um, can you share with us a probably your favorite or favorite type of snack, hiking snack, not drink, but just food item?
Yeah. Peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Can't go wrong.
Okay. And last question for the rapid fire. Which dream guest would you like to take on a hike? It could be anybody in the world, your dream guest that you could give a private hike to, have all those great conversations about podcasts and Netflix shows and diving deep into your journeys. Who would it be?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I've never had this question before. Um, I don't know why, but Tom Hanks is popping into my head.
Tom Hanks. You know
He's a
what?
great guy.
You know what? I will email Tom Hanks and ask him if he wants to be part of her hike collective.
Yeah,
Plus,
I should probably
plus
pick a
him.
woman, right?
Oh no, it could be anybody. I mean, I think Tom Hanks would be a great person to go on a hike with,
Yeah.
regardless of if it's a female based group or not. Tom Hanks is great. Love it, love it. Well, Jessica, thank you so much for this conversation. I would love to kind of lead out with this question here, just as a fun one for you. Do you have any unexpected things that you've seen on a hike, or any interesting stories you would like to leave the listeners with today?
Oh my gosh, we could do a whole other episode on that.
Perfect. Well, if it goes well, we'd love to have you back. For now, we will settle with one.
One. Okay, so we did a winter hike last January and there was snow on the ground and everything. And one of my hikers brought in a thermos a chicken noodle soup. She wanted some hot soup for when we stopped for lunch. And come to find out, it wasn't like a real true soup thermos. She used one of her baby's like bottle warmer thermoses. And we finally get to the waterfall after hiking, and all of a sudden we hear this explosion. And we all kind of duck, like we don't know what's happening. And then we just start seeing all these little pasta noodles falling down to the ground, like a little piece of plastic, circular plastic that just shot off her thing. She kind of slips on ice, and we're catching her and just laughing hysterically because we're so nervous, and we're all just starting to click in what is actually happening, and we can't stop laughing. Then someone's golden retriever, not in our group, runs up, starts eating the chicken noodle soup off the ground.
Okay,
So we did leave no trace. We cleaned it all up thanks to the golden retriever. But it was one of the most hilarious moments we've had.
I love it. I love it. What a wonderful story for the books. Well, Jessica, thank you for sharing your incredible journey with us, for being vulnerable and walking us through all of the wonderful things you're doing, to continue on your brother's legacy. We'd love to roll out the red carpet for you. This segment of the podcast is for you. Please share with us anything you got going on, anything you're looking to promote. The floor is all yours.
Yeah, well, obviously my Her Hike Collective women's group is open to any women. We're based out of the Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach. That's kind of where we carpool if we're not doing a local hike. So all women are welcome to join us, from never having hiked to very experienced hikers. And then my book is still for sale, where all books are sold, and it's called Her Hike by Jessica Chenard. And yeah, and I am starting possibly to write a little more, and it's on the fiction side of things, but there will still be mountains and women hiking.
Love it. Love it. Well, Jessica, thank you for sharing your story with us again. And for our listeners, Jessica Chenard is the author of her debut memoir, Her Hike, and founder of all women's hiking group called Her Hike Collective. She has written her own story of what got her to the mountains and how she believes that the mountains can heal and empower you too. You can find Jessica hosting her group's quarterly hikes in the Blue Ridge Mountains and local hikes here in the Hampton Roads of Virginia area. Link to her book, social pages can be found in the show notes below. So when you're at a safe place, definitely go and check that out and show Jessica some support. And of course, stay tuned on our Discover Virginia Beach Facebook group, because we will, in fact, be doing a giveaway sometime in the near future when you're listening to this, to give out a copy of Jessica's book. So please stay tuned for that. Thank you, and we'll catch you on the next episode.